I want to welcome a guy who is remarkable. The breadth of things he knows and truly is a fan of when it comes to cinema, streaming, music. He is without peer. He comes and goes on a rainbow. How about it for the Culture Blaster? Michael Snyder.
Yeah, Mark, I checked in with Mr. Predicto an hour ago, and he said you were going to go really, really long, and I should gird my loins, and so I've done so.
All right.
And, he's kind of a charlatan, but he was right this time.
Right.
Look, it behooves me to say this before we get down to business. I'm riding with Biden.
Huh?
I'd walk a mile for a Kamala, and I am not going to sway from voting blue, voting Dem, no matter who they present as our presidential candidate.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is.
Behooves is a ding.
I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Thank you.
It may be a little premature since it's actually Sunday, but let me be the first to wish you and yours a happy Bastille Day 2024.
What happened on Bastille Day, Michael?
They
stormed
French
the Bastille?
Stormed the Bastille. Liberté, égalité, fraternité. Although, to be honest, I never joined a fraternity back in college. Not my thing. On the other hand, I am a big fan of liberty and equality. Yeah. And do you have any Bastille Day plans, Mark?
My mother is a massive Francophile, as you know. She is, I assume, doing something for Bastille Day.
I will be spending my Sunday storming the local patisseries, gorging on croissants and pain au chocolat, and maybe washing them down with absinthe. Don't judge me, mon frere.
Yeah.
And by the way, before we get to the movies, Bardo Agogo's Bastille Day party is Saturday night. That's tomorrow night, July 13th, at the Rickshaw Stop with DJ Brother Grimm. It's a celebration of French independence at the stroke of midnight as Le 14 Juillet, July 14th, officially kicks in on the left coast, and you can dance to vintage French yaya pop from the likes of Serge Gainsbourg, France Gall, Jacques Dutronc, and many more. And all the kids show up in their mod 60s style.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
It's so much fun. And they do it annually at the Rickshaw Stop in San Francisco.
Well, this Trevor says a classic Michael Snyder time waster.
That's exactly what it is. I'm going to give tit for tat, my friend.
Julie says, Michael, just love your wit. Isn't that sweet?
That is kind of you, Julie, and I love you listening and being so supportive. Let's talk movies because we do have a limited amount of time.
Yes, sir, please.
Fly Me to the Moon is a meet-cute period romance, but it's also a workplace comedy, and the workplace is NASA in the late 60s. It's a toothless but sometimes amusing conspiracy thriller about the Apollo 11 mission to the moon, and it's a proto-feminist tract about what a smart, savvy gal needed to do to be taken seriously in the pre-women's lib days.
Is it one of the hidden figures, one of the three women who talked it?
No,
it's
sir.
Not a follow-up spin-off on that?
No, the issue here, by the way, is that this movie doesn't know what it wants to be, even as it wants to be so many things. Okay, here's the setup.
Okay.
America is on the verge of its space program, sending men to land on the moon, but the public is not so on board after a tragic accident on the launch pad. And if you know, you know. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and that's that's an actual accident.
Congress wants to trim the budget, scotching the moon mission to some extent. So the powers that be decide to hire Manhattan marketing whiz Kelly Jones, played by Scarlett Johansson. This is the fictional stuff, by the way.
I see. It's against the real backdrop you just described.
Exactly.
But now it's a
and
fiction.
so she's compelled to travel to Cape Canaveral in Florida and burnish NASA's image to get the financing needed. There, she meets handsome, stuffy launch director Cole Davis, played by Channing Tatum, and sparks fly. Yeah, kind of. They're initially oil and water, and you know how these things go. There seems to have been a serious desire to depict the nuts and bolts of the Apollo program in a somewhat accurate way. And then there's the secret agent antics of Woody Harrelson's character, who wants Kelly to oversee a PR failsafe in case the mission goes bad. And that's part and parcel of the film. And since we're supposed to root for Kelly and Cole, I was just grateful that ScarJo and to a lesser extent Tatum delivered to a point. Their chemistry and the rom-com aspects of this is decent, but it doesn't fizz in a way that would elevate the whole deal. But it is good that Johansson is such a charmer and does have a flair for light comedy, which comes into play. She made the experience of watching this thing pleasurable. And to be fair, the art direction, costuming, and special effects are generally on point. And it does have some genuinely funny scenes, mostly involving a supporting role played by Jim Rash as a bitter avant-garde filmmaker reduced to shooting commercials and then brought into the fold for this PR gesture.
Yeah, somebody's saying in the chat that guy steals the movie.
Definitely does. By the way, Jim Rash is for those of you like me who are cartoon fans, Jim Rash is the voice of Gyro Gearloose in the wonderful reboot of DuckTales. But I digress. Fly Me to the Moon blasts off into so many different directions that it sometimes loses focus and it undermines suspension of disbelief. And at just over 2 hours, it's pretty cumbersome for what should be breezy entertainment. 2 casting notes. Ray Romano plays a stressed-out mission director and does a good job, while a certain Saturday Night Live news anchor related to Scarlett has a cameo that earns a laugh because of who he is. Fly Me to the Moon was directed by Greg Berlanti, the showrunner behind the CW's long-running string of DC superhero dramas. Some were good, some not so good. But with this movie, he moved from science fiction to fiction about science fact. Should they have scrubbed the mission? I'll give it a grudging pass. Pleasant, but not particularly memorable, especially when you consider how memorable the moon landing was to those who were alive when it happened. Fly Me to the Moon is in theaters.
It's pointed out by Alan, Sinatra is not heard singing the song title. How could they, he says.
Well, probably licensing fees were massive.
Massive, yeah, and it's all the money's going. Look at this, Audrey W. I don't mean to interrupt, but I think I just think of this as a punctuation to your segment. Audrey W. gives us $100. Democracy first, she says. Born on Bastille Day, Michael. You owe her a big happy birthday.
Viva Audrey! Bon anniversaire, mon cher.
Big shout out. Stay safe, all. Excellence in show. Hosts, guests, friends, and producers are excellent always. And Audrey, we adore you. I will give you a British thank you so much. And what can I say? I'm taken by her.
Thank you.
I give you 4 thank yous. I'm going to give you another 4 thank yous.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
You know what? I'd like to thank you, Mark, for letting me continue right now.
Okay, sorry, but Michael, we don't exist without people like Audrey contributing.
I heard.
How dare you?
That's why you run that crawl at the end of the show. Come on.
All right, I'm sorry, Audrey. Thank you for your generosity.
I appreciate her. I would like to actually dedicate the next review to her.
All right, go for it.
Maybe she won't like that, but I'll tell you. Nicolas Cage continues his current run of notable genre movies, with the good ones far outweighing the clunkers. The horror movie Longlegs is his latest, although Cage, as the incredibly creepy title character, is sort of a secret weapon here. He doesn't have as much screen time as you might expect, and he doesn't do much more than act in his fully unhinged mode, as in like bat guano crazy and deadly, but damn, he is one effective monster. Written and directed by actor Oz Perkins, who previously directed The Blackcoat's Daughter and Gretel and Hansel, Longlegs introduces a new villain to the pantheon of freaky movie serial killers, and though it might recall other horror movies here and there with this reference and that reference, it's got enough freshness to its antagonist and his methodology to feel like something different instead of the same old IP. The story is told from the point of view, for the most part, of a young female FBI agent with mild psychic abilities who's trying to help the agency solve a series of similar murder cases wherein someone goes bonkers at home for no appreciable reason and kills a bunch of family members. So Agent Lee Harker, played by Micah Monroe, may have some paranormal skills, but she also has mother issues and at least one troubling encounter in her past, which may very well come into play as she seeks the twisted, possibly mystical, and certainly devilish mastermind behind the string of deaths that she's investigating. There are temporal shifts and changing aspect ratios to reflect those shifts and what appear to be Harker's remote viewing skills, even as Cage goes off, and those scenes are generally terrifying. Monroe is a solid center to the story and is well supported by Blair Underwood as her boss at the FBI and Alicia Witt as her off-kilter mother. At about 100 minutes, this is super tight and very unsettling as Perkins and his cast ratchet up the dread. I am not sure if Long Legs will have legs at the box office, but I do think horror fans will stride out to the theaters to see it and shriek, and it may very well become even bigger when it reaches streaming, which should be, soonish. It's in theaters at the moment.
Wow. Another horror offering that you think actually hits the mark.
Next, we have something that's a little more in your wheelhouse, Mark, I think.
Right.
The Convert is quite a good historical drama about the clash of Maori tribes in 1830s New Zealand with British settlers caught between the factions. And it is the work of Kiwi filmmaker Lee Tamahori, who directed and co-wrote the script. Tamahori first gained acclaim with Once Were Warriors, his starring 1994 drama about the strains of modern Maori life. And that led to an eventual slot as director of a middling James Bond movie, Die Another Day, and some other action detritus. As far as I can tell, this is Tamahori's first movie since 2016, and it struck me as a return to form, probably because the plight of the Maori resonates for him, since he himself is part Maori and part European. It has great sweeping natural beauty. It's shot in New Zealand. It's first-rate battle sequences as tribes armed with British muskets, the usual machetes and such, face off for dominance, and British traders and settlers are put at risk. And it has some impactful interpersonal drama. The central figure here is Thomas Munro, an ex-soldier turned lay preacher, played by Aussie leading man Guy Pearce. Munro gets passage via trading ship to a British settlement on the coast of New Zealand, but before he gets to the town, which has hired him to oversee church services, he's drawn into an intertribal conflict that ends with him saving a chieftain's daughter and becoming her protector, which is kind of, intriguing. And when Munro and the young woman get to town, it doesn't take long before he realizes that the colonists are fearful and hateful towards the Maori. Except for one kind-hearted white woman, played by Jacqueline McKenzie, who speaks the native language, was embraced by a tribe, and is shunned by the Brits because of it. Since the warlords of the two largest local tribes have it in for one another in a struggle to control the entire area, this is a tinderbox, and something's got to give. Pierce is typically great, as is McKenzie, and Tiarore Nagate Melbourne, it's a Maori name, so forgive me. She's fantastic as the chieftain's daughter. I'm still thinking about The Convert a few days after watching it. It's a visual treat and a very thoughtful exploration by Tamahori of what the indigenous people faced from within, even as they dealt with heedless colonizers trying to take advantage of them. It's in select theaters, and it is streaming on demand.
Heedless is a ding word. Wow, you really liked it. It sounds provocative.
I thought it was very good. It's not the greatest stuff in the world, but I thought it was very good.
Okay.
I do want to wrap up with the gem of the week. It's called Touch, and it is a lovely movie adapted from Olafur Johan Olafsson's novel about a cross-cultural romance that spans decades, telling its story with spirit and measured elegance. I mean, how cross-cultural? All right. A young Icelandic man named Christopher is studying in swingin' London as the 60s flip to the 70s. He quits school and gets a job in a Japanese restaurant and falls for the owner's daughter, Miko. 50 years on, the now elderly protagonist returns to London at the height of the COVID pandemic with the clock ticking, so he attempts to find and reunite with his lost love. This is co-written and directed by Icelandic actor-director Baltasar Kormákur. Touch is graced by winning performances from its cast, too, young and old, especially Egil Olafsson as the elder Christopher, and Koki, she's got a single name, kind of like Madonna, as the younger Miko. There are evocative locations in Iceland, England, and Japan, and a very cool soundtrack, especially during the 60s scenes. It's in Icelandic, Japanese, and English, with English subtitles when needed, and it is in select theaters.
That sounds super intriguing, actually. I'm kind of excited to see that. Touch, it's called.
I liked it very, very much.
Yeah. Just a quick walk back, some of the stuff you have reviewed, and then maybe we can get to a TV recommendation. Touch is the unrequited love story, where the older man now goes back to try to claw back a piece of his past. Am I right, Michael?
That sounds accurate enough.
Yes. Touch, and there are some subtitles, but
it's very touching.
Yeah. The Convert, the historical drama with the Maori tribes against the British in New Zealand. Nothing good happened with the British in New Zealand to the Maori tribes, but I guess there is some good and complicated story with this particular offering. It's very good, Michael said, and he recommended it with some brilliant performances along the way. He also liked Longlegs, the Nicolas Cage film. He said it's a piece of horror, but you think that while it's not ringing every bell, it's pretty good.
Oh, it's quite good for horror fans. I recommend it. And Nicolas Cage, you scary beast. Oh,
he
my
is
God.
Prolific these days, too.
He is.
Fly Me to the Moon is the period romance, takes place at NASA. Sadly, it doesn't involve the Hidden Figures kids. I would like to see something, maybe they could dust that off and do a spin-off. I love those women. But this is Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson. And they initially, of course, don't get along. But then a romance breaks out. And so they're both engineering a moon mission and engineering a romance. I mean, strikes me as intriguing. You, though, said maybe, but kind of misses.
No, it's okay. It's okay. You know what? This is my Kim McAllister Gold Star recommendation for the weekend. It's the one movie of the four that I think that Kim would just use as kind of popcorn munching fun.
Oh, okay. Well, Kim can take that then and maybe plan her weekend, integrate it into her weekend. Before we leave, throw me a TV a recommendation.
Okay, two quick TV recommendations. First, because, I am comic book animation and, fun boy. Star Trek Prodigy has its second season on Netflix now, moving from Paramount Plus, and it is an animated program about kids that hijack a spaceship and have to deal with Starfleet coming after them, and this is the aftermath of that, which happened in the first season. And it features a lot of your favorite Star Trek characters voiced by the original actors, and one of the central figures in both seasons is Kate Mulgrew's captain and now Admiral Catherine Janeway, who is a mentor to the kids, first as a hologram and then the real flesh and blood Admiral Janeway. Star Trek Prodigy, it's a family thing. It's fun. If you like Star Trek, it's got a lot of references to the franchise. And for grown-ups, and something rather au courant, lively and timely, Douglas is canceled, which I think you can purchase on Apple TV and Amazon Prime. It's a 3 or 4 episode drama with tongue-in-cheek, with satirical overtones and undertones, created and written by Stephen Moffat, the guy who did Jekyll, did Sherlock, and a pretty terrific Dracula, and was one of the showrunners on Doctor Who. And I bring it up because it's about a news anchor and he's an older man, and his lovely young co-anchor, and they are played by Hugh Bonneville, who is, of course, one of the stars of Downton Abbey, and Karen Gillan, Amy Pond on Doctor Who, one of the stars of the Marvel Universe as, the daughter of Thanos, on top of everything else, Alex Kingston, who was also a regular on Doctor Who, is here as the wife of the Hugh Bonneville character. Hugh Bonneville's character is caught saying something questionable on video at a wedding, and it blows back on him and threatens to overturn his career. And
wow.
It's, again, Douglas is canceled. I thought it was pretty entertaining and also somewhat thought-provoking.
And again, it's on what platform?
I think you can get it on Apple TV and Amazon Prime. I think it's for purchase right now, but I'm sure one of the streamers is going to pick it up as part of their format and their schedule. And
I love it.
Bill of fare.
Love it. Find Michael Snyder when he's not here at the Voice of San Francisco, voiceofsf.org. Yeah, thevoicesf.org. Got to put the in there. Thevoicesf.org. He's got musings of all sorts. He's a great writer. He's got scripts that are at studios, and he's modest. He doesn't peacock about this stuff, but he is very talented, and his writing can be seen at thevoicesf.org. Michael?
Yeah, buddy.
Anything in conclusion?
Nothing other than to say to Randy that I thought pretty highly of the Acolyte and talked about it. I don't have a chance to oftentimes look at the chat while we're doing our segment.
I see you, Randy.
But I noticed
to know about that.
and yeah, we talked about it here on the Mark Thompson show.
Yes, thank you for watching, Randy. He comes and goes on a rainbow. Bye-bye, Michael.
Bon 14 juillet, everybody, and go Giants.
Yes.